This is an Eye on Annapolis bonus podcast.
Just a quick note that the first minute and a half of this sounds a little bit garbled, and that's because our tech failed. The recorder didn't kick in for some reason, and we started to record it on an iPhone. However, the recorder did kick in a little bit later, and that's what you get from a minute and a half on. Enjoy this episode with the Colonial Players.
Colonial Players is getting ready to open up again in person on April 9th. Through April 25th for their first run.
We're talking with Steve Tobin, who is the president of the organization.
We're excited to be back.
And this has to be exciting for you. And the play that is showing is the Maytag Virgin. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Maytag Virgin is actually a play written by a local playwright. It's a nationally known play, but it's written by Audrey Sepoli, who actually resides in Maryland. And we're very excited about that. And it's a play about two people who've lost their spouses and are living sort of alone next door to each other, and how they evolve and come together and find a way to get over their loneliness, get over their isolation, and come together. And it's about that growing and evolving of a relationship. And so we didn't plan it this way, but I think it actually is very. It's a very strong metaphor for us coming out of the COVID world, as we've been living in isolation and looking at each other over fences, and are only now being able to come back together again.
So, out of the darkness, so to speak. It is a welcome sight for sure. Colonial Players has been just such a staple in the community for,
over 70 years.
I was going to say 60 or 70, so it's over 70 years.
Yeah, this is technically our 72nd season, so
71st and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I always talk about that. 2020 is going to be like the 13th floor of a high-rise in an elevator.
Yeah, sure.
10, 11, 12, 14 is
absolutely.
It's just not going to... my daughter was all concerned about how she's going to get a job. How do you explain... You just write down 2020 and there's nobody in the world is going to question...
Everybody gets a pass.
Question that. We totally understand that. Well, what have you had to do to get to the point where you can reopen? Okay, people are still obviously concerned for their own safety. I mean, we're sitting, 6 feet apart. We've got masks down around our face, not quite covering them, and people are jockeying for vaccines and everything else. But what has Colonial Players done to make sure that this is a safe environment? What have you had to do to be able to operate? Because, I mean, obviously you could bring in 2 or 3 people and have a play, but that's not feasible.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a long, hard road to get here. We have, just like everybody, we've been looking at guidance. We've been looking at best practices. We're members of various theater organizations and associations, and we've been looking at what other people have done across the country. And we've come up with our own set of rules and guidance and practices and procedures that are all in line with current state and county regulations, but go that extra mile. We've also done extensive polling of our membership and our subscriber base and gone back to them with questionnaires about what they'd be comfortable with, what kinds of things they'd like to see. And we've incorporated that into our guidelines as well. And this has been something that's been going on even before we knew that the county and the state would allow live performance again. So we were trying to get ready for that moment when. And the other thing we've done is we've been very grateful to receive some grants that have been out there. And we've used that to improve our streaming capabilities. So throughout this period, we've tried to do...
Did you have streaming capability before?
We had a very, very, very limited streaming capability.
It was like Frank in the middle of the floor with a cell phone.
And quite frankly, the rights systems weren't set up for streaming performances. So when we did streaming, it was more of uncopyrighted work or new work or things that we didn't have to worry about licensing for, or classic works and things like that. And it was like we're all doing. It was creative ways to use Zoom and creative ways to use Teams or whatever platform of your choice. But with some of the grant funds and some of the new technology that's been out there and some of the improved licensing understanding of streaming from the licensing companies, we've been able to make those investments. And I think we're really excited that Maytag Virgin will, in fact, have a live audience, but it will also be simulcast to a streaming audience. So I was joking with other folks that we're sort of film before a live studio audience. And
Look out, Saturday Night Live.
And it's so we're really excited by that, and I think in a post-COVID world, we'll be seeing some more of that kind of arrangement. I think the licensing companies are being very understanding and very generous right now. So I'm not sure we'll see it look exactly like what we're able to do now. But in the future, I'm expecting this to be a component of things going forward.
I think that COVID in general in entertainment has really taken obviously, it's hurt the businesses that provide live entertainment.
Sure.
That's a given. But I've got to think that as people have adjusted to whatever this new normal is for however long it's going to be. I mean, I thought it was a 2-week bug that was rolling in here in March. I had no clue that we'd be here a year later.
Yeah.
But I think people are like, okay, hey, I'm doing okay without live music. I'm doing okay without live theater. I'm doing okay without going to a movie and watching it in a theater. And I think that's probably a very real threat to the folks that own the licenses to movies, to artistic rights and everything else. And that they're going to need to adapt to that. They're going to realize that this has to be a part of it. I mean, we need to attract the woman and the man that's going to come and sit in the front row of every single play at the Colonial Players just as much as we're going to have to attract the woman that was sitting in the front row for 10 years but now can't make it tonight for whatever reason. There's ice on the roads or something like that.
So I think there's something unique about live performance, whether it's theater or music or any of the live performing arts, which is that there's a kind of energy and a kind of feedback loop that happens between the performer and the audience member. And that's really unique. You don't get that sitting alone in your family room or just with a few other family members. Plus, there's the idea of shared experience. So when you're in a live performance venue, you're in there with a lot of other people that are experiencing that same unique performance at the same time. And so that's another unique aspect of live performance. And I think there's something also about the sort of ephemeral nature of it. So in a live performance, it happens and then it's gone, right? I have favorite movies. We all have favorite movies, and we put those favorite movies on, and it's the exact same performance every time. When you go to live theater, it's different every time, and that feedback loop that I talked about causes changes and moments hit and moments miss, and those are different, and things happen. And I think as people get more comfortable, quite frankly, being around other people more, I think the first time somebody comes back to a live performance event, I think they'll go, wow, I didn't realize how much I missed that. So I think the trick is really to get people comfortable, to get them to come back in for that first concert, that first play, that first dance presentation, and say, yeah, I need this. And they'll start coming back. It's not going to be a light switch. It's not going to be, woohoo, everybody's free, come back in.
Right.
But I think as people get more comfortable, they're going to come back. And I think there are a lot of people out there that are going through withdrawal, and they want to come back.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. So I don't think it. As I said, I don't think this is going to be an overnight thing. I don't think it's going to be suddenly everything's back the way it was. I think it's going to take us, months, maybe even years to get back to a kind of new way of appreciating live performance events. But I'm still optimistic that will happen.
Now, are you an actor yourself?
So mostly I'm a director, but I am an actor. Particularly here at Colonial Players, I've done both, mostly directing. In my misspent youth, I was a professional actor and director, and then I decided I liked eating more than
priorities.
Priorities change, but yeah. So yeah, and that's one of the beauties of this theater and this organization for us is that I've worked professionally, as I said, in my youth, and this is as good a space, as good a company, as good a quality of performance as most of the professional things I've been involved with.
As an actor, you mentioned that there's the interaction between the audience and the actors.
Right.
And, how critical is that as an actor? And that's sort of why I asked you whether you were an actor. How critical is that? Because could the crew and the cast put on a production here with empty seats?
So
that's a rehearsal.
Right. Well, so what that is television, right? So or film, right? So actors are used to those kinds of performance activities. Even when you're making a movie or shooting a television episode, you're doing it in front of cast and crew, and there's people there, and sometimes they generate feedback. But also those particular forms, there's a lot of stopping and starting. There's sometimes it's completely out of sequence, and so that's a whole different level and style of acting that you have to get used to. That's one of the things that's unique about stage. There's continuity to it. There's that you have to play your mistakes where they lay. So you can't just arbitrarily say cut and reshoot. You've got to go with it. And so it's very different. So my instinct is that we could do it. We would probably have as many of the cast and crew visible, but it's tough. You need that feedback.
I would think. And for those that have not been to the Colonial Players before, you want to avoid the worst seats. There's 10 really bad seats in this house, and they're 4 rows away from the stage. Okay. So this is a very small, I say very small, but you said the capacity is 180?
It's 180. We are in the round. That's what we're known for.
Right.
Although, to be fair, this particular production will not be in the round because of the restrictions and guidelines made that impractical to do it in front of in the round performance in front of a live audience. But no seat is more than about 15 feet from the edge of the stage in Colonial Players. So it's a very intimate space under normal circumstances. We've added some things to make that.
And I will say that your seating risers tend to be they seem to be a little bit higher than normal. So you don't, even if that lady sits in front of you with the hat on. Yeah. She's not probably going to be a problem.
Yeah, the biggest thing that people have to get used to when they're watching theater in the round and when you're directing for theater in the round is understanding that there will be times when everybody's back will be to you, right? You're as an actor, your back is to somebody
at all
the time, right? And as a director, you have to be extremely conscious of not favoring one side or the other, or pretending that we're in a traditional theater. Because
so you can't just play to the good seats.
You can't just play to the good seats. So we're very conscious of that here. Our directors are very conscious of that. Our new directors are very much made aware of that as part of the new director process. We like to think there are no bad seats in the house, and we make every effort to make sure that 75% of the time, an actor is looking at you.
It is. There are really, truly no bad seats in the house. I was liking this to Ram's Head on stage where, for live music and the level of venue, there's really no poor seats. There's some that are not as good as the best seats, of course, and that's the same here as well. Yeah. If this was comedy, I would say the best seats are probably in the back just so you don't get picked on in the front row. You have restructured this theater now to... I would say it's almost more of a traditional theater where you've got the stage in the front of the room.
Yep.
The audience fans out. It's not actually in front, but it sort of wraps around their stage in
Right.
a
What we call
configuration.
what we call a thrust stage, so that the stage actually thrusts into the audience a little
Look at
bit.
that. I'm learning new
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Colonial Players as an organization. You
Sure.
are the president
Yep.
tasked to run this organization. You served as vice president for a while, I know.
Yep.
So obviously you're well prepared for whatever came down the road, right?
I don't think anybody was well prepared for what came down the road.
But just run me through the Colonial Players. What is the Colonial Players, we know it is a theater. It is a community theater, and it's a wonderful asset to the city of Annapolis.
Yeah, as I said, we've been here for 72 years. 1949 was our first production. It was a Thornton Wilder play called The Male Animal. Thornton Wilder is well known for Our Town, which is probably his most famous play. Our organization is 100% volunteer, so no one gets paid here. Our actors, our directors, our designers, everyone does it, as we say, for the love of it. But
That shows. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to several productions here, and it just shows. I mean, this is...
Yeah, and as I said, I think because we've been here for so long, we've been able to work on ourselves really well. We're very, very fortunate. Our longevity means that we own our spaces. We're in a relatively secure position financially, and so we've been able to invest in ourselves and make ourselves better. And the quality of the productions that we put on here is first rate. I'd stack them up against anything that is being produced professionally. And we really enjoy being a part of the community. We're right downtown. We're right next to the State House. That's part of who we are. A lot of people get frustrated with us because parking is a problem. Well, parking's a problem all over Annapolis. We know that.
Okay, parking is not a problem if you know where to park.
Right,
But
yeah.
I mean, and honestly, if you go to one of the garages, this is
Yes.
not a big walk at all.
But I guess where I was going with that is that we've thought about moving to make it easier for people to get to us. But Annapolis is so part of our character that I don't think we're seriously going to be entertaining moving out of our spaces.
I don't see how that could work. I mean, there are certain things that are iconic. I mean, we'll throw the Christmas.
Yeah,
Okay.
Christmas Carol.
I mean, Christmas Carol. They're lining up to get the tickets there. I mean, that is almost the lineup and the hangout and the hot chocolates in line and the camaraderie that you have with your neighbors is almost
And the people singing carols out in the street.
as a tradition as the production itself.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate for that. It tore us up that we couldn't do it this past year. That was the year. We do it every other year,
Right.
And so 2020 was the year we were supposed to be doing A Chrritmas Carol.
Will you be doing it in 2021?
We will be doing it in 2021. Yeah.
So we're skipping. And
Yeah,
and now
we're
we're going to be
resetting.
doing the odd number of years.
We did it. We did a three-person reading of a different version of A Chrritmas Carol, and we streamed that. It was a different production. It wasn't a musical, and it was wonderful as well. And it was a nice change, but I would have almost rather have done that in a normal off year rather than having
Yes.
to put that in at the last minute. So we're very excited. Same team, basically. Because we had to cancel most of our season 72 shows, our season 73 will be will be the 72 shows. So we'll get A Chrritmas Carol back up, and hopefully that was just too large a show, even in the best of times. That show involves over 20 individuals and music and lots of dancing, and it just wouldn't have worked enough.
How many shows in a season?
So we do 6 shows plus a holiday show in a season. And then over the summer we might do a one-act festival or a special project or some other kind of activity that comes in from the outside or self-produced. But our main subscription series is 6 shows, which is pretty extensive for a community theater as well. That is, again, something that I think sets us apart. Most community theaters will do 3 or 4 shows a year.
You said subscription, so that sort of intones that you guys are a membership organization, correct?
So we're a membership organization, just like many nonprofits out there. We have memberships, and we also have a subscriber base, and the two overlap, but
Sure.
they're not necessarily, one's not required of the other. And so our membership really forms the core of our volunteer base. They're the ones that are doing all the things behind the scenes, not just for a show, but for running the organization.
This is the easy stuff that you see on Run,
Right.
the building the sets and,
Yeah.
and acting. It's everything else
Yeah.
that makes it run that
Yeah,
you don't
I mean,
see.
we have a annual budget that we need to take care of, and we have infrastructure that we need to take care of. Our volunteers are the ones that do that, and it's incredible to me that we can maintain these facilities and this quality just on the volunteer labor that we have. Obviously, when we need plumbers, we hire plumbers, but
Well, I know a couple of years ago I talked with the director and the cast and whatnot of A New Brain, which was here, and I didn't even realize that you guys had a whole separate facility out,
absolutely,
tucked out behind the bowling alley.
yeah.
Which houses all of your costuming and your sets that you can be repurposed and everything else, and that serves as a rehearsal spot as well.
Yeah, again, very fortunate to have that space. That's our costume shops, scene shops, prop storage, set storage, rehearsal venue. We have our boardroom over there for meetings.
That's where the ugly magic happens.
Yeah, it's where
the pretty magic happens here on East Street.
Yeah, and there's always sort of that moment when a show transitions from the rehearsal space, a mile and a half away, into the theater, and that's sort of when as an actor, as a director, that's when reality sets in and says, okay, we're really going to do this.
That's the OS moment.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's like, okay, we're really doing this now. We're going to open.
Well, one thing I noticed when I was talking with Ron Giddings, I know, and I'm drawing a blank on the director's name, but the young woman that was directing that one, but was the passion that was involved in everybody that was involved with this. I mean, this is a rehearsal. I watched them go through some musical numbers. I watched them work through a couple scenes and whatnot, and just the enjoyment that they were getting. I mean, they could have had the worst week of their life.
Yep.
And for those 3 hours or 4 hours or however long they went into the midnight hour, they were just having the best times of their lives, and that does translate right here on the stage.
Yeah, and we have a sort of a motto which says, we do this for the love of it, and that's really true. There's a feeling inside when you're able to do this of transporting yourself to different people, to different characters, to different places, to different situations, and I think that's what, for a lot of us, that's what keeps it coming back. Yeah, the doing it in front of people and people enjoying it, that's an important part, but there's something internal about that, and it's a great bunch of people. I mean, we have a lot of fun with each other, you see, you're working in one show with a great bunch of people, and then another show a year later, it's a different group or overlapping group, and it's just
it's a family. I guess
it is very much a family, and that's what inspires me on the board, and to take that step up from just working as a director and an actor to actually helping this organization move forward and be around for the next 72 years. So,
right. I presume that you guys rent the place out by the mall.
No, we own that too.
You own that?
Yeah, those are all condo spaces.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. I thought they were just and then that would lead to my next question. So you guys own this building as well. So you're not here at the whims of a landlord.
And I can't tell you how important that is for theaters. For a theater to own its own space, for a theater to have control of its own space, is just amazing and, quite frankly, unique, because we don't have to worry about a landlord suddenly deciding to turn this into a commercial space.
Sure.
We can make the modifications we need to. This building has been renovated several times. A lot of people may not know this. This used to be a auto repair shop, in the 40s and the 50s. When Colonial Players first started, we were actually using community space downtown. And when this garage came up for sale, we bought it back in the, I say we, but I wasn't around then. But the organization bought it and turned it into a theater. And over the years, we have expanded both out to the street and out to the side. And I think at this point, we can't. I think the only place we can expand is straight up. But
Right.
But it gives us a lot of flexibility and also responsibility. We own this space. We can't call up a landlord and say, you got to fix this.
Right.
We have to do it. And when the roof,
The roof is leaking. Okay, bring your ladder down and fix it.
Yeah, believe me, our operations director gets those calls.
Well, the building's got to be fairly old.
Yeah.
It's not so the core of it anyhow.
Yeah.
Are you selling tickets to your streaming?
Yes.
As well?
Yeah.
Okay, thecolonialplayers.org is the website.
That
There's
is
a
correct.
V in front of that. Everything
Right.
else is spelled out pretty easily.
Yeah. A lot of people go to colonialplayers.org, and that's an organization up in New Hampshire, I believe. So we're the Colonial Players.
That's right. That's a good way to remember it. The Colonial Players.
The Colonial Players.
If you've got questions, just Google it and put Annapolis after it, and you'll come to the right
You
place.
go right to the right place.
But tickets are on sale right now.
Correct.
For Maytag Virgin.
Right, both streaming and live, same price. We set a honorary price of $20.21 to honor the year we come out of this.
A little bit of a nod to in and out.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's $20.21 per seat live and $20.21 per screen on the streaming platform.
Per household or
per
whatever.
household. Yeah. So
I was joking with the Film Fest the other day. I said, so if I rented a really big Airbnb,
yeah.
I could bring like 500 people in and
Yeah. You'd need a really huge screen to make that work. But yeah, I guess that's possible.
Somebody's always going to find a way around it. But and again, the streaming, you can purchase the ticket right online at thecolonialplayers.org. Yep. You can also purchase. Now, how many are we limited to as far as in person? So I'm assuming that goes to your members first, right?
No. It's first come. It's like any traditional box office. We weren't able to do subscriptions for this year for obvious reasons.
Okay.
So it's just a standard box office. You go to the website to buy your tickets, or you can leave a message on our box office phone, and they'll get back to you usually within 24 hours. A lot of times much quicker than that.
That's just because they're so happy to have somebody calling, and there's live entertainment.
And again, our box office are volunteers too. Everybody in this organization.
There's no payroll in this organization.
There's no payroll in this organization. We're all working together to make sure that our audience can get their tickets and get in here. And our seating capacity is a little bit variable depending on the size of bubble groups, if you will.
Okay.
So we think we'll be able to sell a minimum of 30, and depending on the group size, maybe 40. And our normal house is 180, so that's a big decrease.
That's a big drop because right now, we're recording this at the end of March, and I believe the state's at 50% on live performance venues.
Correct.
So and you're down at like
25.
25, which is considerable. So,
Less.
But you don't require a single person could come in and buy a ticket.
Absolutely.
And a couple could come in.
Yep.
And a family of 5 could come in.
Yep.
So it's not like one of those things where you need to buy the whole table or the whole row
No.
in seats, and then you just rearrange. I'm assuming the seats aren't necessarily assigned per se, but you sort of rearrange them.
They'll be assigned as people buy them, and our box office and our ticketing processes automatically create spaces between groups.
That's probably something you had to figure out too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and our ticket vendors figure that out, and we're working with them, and we did some of the other safety things that we did. We extensively renovated and upgraded our HVAC systems, so now we have air purifiers in line. We are definitely increasing our cleaning.
Sure.
We'll do some major cleaning before every weekend and in the middle of a weekend, and we'll do thorough cleaning after every show. We've revised some of our box office policies
Sure.
and things like that. There are no seats out in our lobby because, unfortunately, we don't want people to hang out in the lobby.
Congregate in the lobby.
Yeah, so we'll take people right into the theater and give them their seats. That's all.
You mentioned you've got a Christmas show coming up. Do we have plans for any other shows this season at this point, or is it kind of...
So for the rest of this season, we're working on one... we haven't publicly announced them yet, but we're working on one sort of what we'll call a special project musical, which will be done sort of cabaret style. And then we're hopefully going to be able to present one other more formal production, which would be late June and July. We're still finalizing the rights and the dates for that. And then, knock on wood, we'll collectively all come out of the darkness by September, and we'll try and put on some semblance of a regular season for season 73 starting in September.
Fantastic. TheColonialPlayers.org is the place that you want to go for tickets. You also want to go there for subscriptions and memberships, correct?
Absolutely.
You take them, right? And if somebody just wants to throw cash at you, will you take that too?
Of course. Of course. We're
you're a nonprofit, okay?
We're always grateful for donations. But I will say this, more important in some ways than donations is people's time and their volunteering. I've said this over and over again. We are a volunteer organization, and we love it when people step up and say, I want to help on a show, or I want to help with, I want to learn how to do sound design. I want to learn how to do lighting design. I want to help build a set. We love that. And we are always looking for people that can jump in and want to learn.
Well, volunteer as well.
Yep.
TheColonialPlayers.org. We're talking with Steve Tobin, who is the president of the organization. Tickets for this show are 2021, which I think is a fantastic way to kick it out, hopefully. Kick it out of our world when it came in and when it left with COVID. I am so happy, so thrilled to see live performance coming back, both in the music realm as well as the theater realm. Even into the theaters. Movies is a great thing, and our fingers are all collectively crossed that our leaders are doing the right thing, and we're on the end of this tail end of this crazy pandemic. It's all about the timing. Yeah, we're really excited. Maytag Virgin is a great show to open up our theater with. As I said earlier, it's a great metaphor for what we've all been going through, and it's a good story, and I think people will really feel it in their heart, and I think it's going to set us up wonderfully for coming back to the quote-unquote real world. The Maytag Virgin does open up on April 9th, runs through the 25th, so you've got about 3 weeks? 3 weekends, yeah. 3 weekends there. Seating obviously limited in person. Unlimited in streaming. Unlimited in streaming. So I do recommend jump on those seats that you can get them. Again, there's not a crappy seat in the house. No, it's all good. I'm looking at the set here, the set design and everything else, and it's you're right there up on top of the actors, or the actors are right there up on top of you. Safely. Appropriately distanced. We've been out with measuring tapes, believe me. we need to come up, I'm going to come up with a dictionary of words that I never want to hear again the rest of my life. Okay, pivot is number one of them. We're all in this together is another. Right. Social distancing is up there. Yeah, there's plenty of those out there. Yeah. But Steve Tobin, thank you very much for your time this morning. Congratulations on steering this ship through this muck that has been 2020 and coming out alive and thriving in 2021 with the Maytag Virgin opening up here at the Colonial Players on April 9th. TheColonialPlayers.org is where you want to go for pretty much everything, right? Yep, it's all there. Thanks very much. All right, thank you, John, so much.
This has been a bonus podcast from Ion Annapolis. Please visit us at ionannapolis.net. Follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Ion Annapolis. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily News Brief podcast, go for it. And all of your local news will be delivered to your phone, tablet, or smart device by 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday.